Well, good day, everyone, and welcome to the stream. I said that I would never stream to YouTube again until they changed, but my hand has been forced. I'm trying to reach out to someone, and this is the only way that I know how to contact them, because YouTube is making it impossible for me to respond to their comments. My comments keep disappearing, which is very frustrating. Anyway, we'll see if this works. So I'm going to show you the comment. Give me just a second to set that up while I wait for SouthWestConvert to turn up, if he does. This may confuse the life out of him, who knows? So it started with a post on YouTube, a community post by Leighton Flowers. God doesn't have a secret will that contradicts his word. He wants us to come to him and gives us the real freedom to choose. The idea that he says come but secretly decrees you can't is not found in Scripture. God's will is like a loving father, desiring what's best but allowing real choice. And this meme, the Bible never teaches that God has some kind of secondary secret hidden will that is contradictory to his stated will. That is, he wants you to come in response to his appeals, but decreed such that you cannot do so willingly, which is Calvinism. He may will things in a different sense, like any father, such that you desire your child to go to college, but you've given him the choice. You will that he goes to college, but he may choose not to go, which he was able to do because you gave him that choice. That's not contradictory. Right? Having those two wills, that you desire him to go to college, but you may even keep that secret. That doesn't contradict you giving him the choice and supporting him in his choice. So Brian Schmidt responds, Schmidt, if you use the German pronunciation, but usually in English would say Schmidt. This kind of thinking is no better than the philosophical thinking that has led the Catholic Church into all kinds of problems. Never compare the words of God with the words of godly men. Why? I don't even know what that comment means, quite frankly. So I responded, on the contrary, always compare man's words with the commands of God so we can see if they are true. Sorry, I should have made that bigger. Now that's made that one bigger and the meme stays the same size. But I suspect you haven't made clear what you really mean. What I suspect you actually mean is don't compare how God operates to how we operate. What you are trying to argue for is God not operating by the rules he requires for us. He is not the standard. Basically, it's a form of Gnosticism where God is unknowable except as people like you reveal him to us. We can't trust his word to guide our senses, I think I meant. We can't trust the standard of holiness he has given us to show us who he is. No, we need a guru like you to guide us. You are part of the offshoot of the Roman cult, not us. You are part of the reformed, which I put in quotes, tradition that was trying to change Mother Church, in quotes. We stand outside begging Christians to leave and stop trying to reform the harlot. So then SouthWestConvert responds, and for some reason, I hate how YouTube does this. They haven't figured out how to, and I'm going to keep seeing if he responds. Nope. Keep hoping that he'll respond quickly. SouthWestConvert responds to me. You seem to be a passionate Arminian. I have a question I can't answer in Genesis 2:9, the knowledge of good and evil. When looking at the Hebrew, evil is defined here as ethical evil, adjective of man and others. What would be the Arminian response to God seemingly creating this tree? I didn't understand that question, and I'm not Arminian anyway. So I said, I'm not Arminian, I'm provisionist. What are you asking? As I don't see a problem. He says, the question is how to respond to one who says that God, the author of ethical, moral, he means, not morale, evil, Genesis 2:9, and natural evil, Isaiah 45:7. How can God be upright if he created that by which we are enabled to sin? So that's actually two different questions. That's actually three questions there. There's a lot to that. But still, I'm not seeing the actual problem. So I said, because he didn't force us to eat at the tree, he commanded us not to. I don't see the dilemma. Creation of the tree did not create evil. Right? He seems to be assuming that creation of the tree of knowledge of good and evil is a creation of evil. Right? But he's conflating separate issues. So he's saying, how can God be upright if he created that by which we are enabled to sin? So making sin possible somehow is God's therefore gets blamed for sin. So he should never have made sin possible. Right? Otherwise, he's to blame for sin. Really? Hang on, making sin possible doesn't make sin happen. God's not to blame for sin. We are. Just because he made it possible. So if I make it possible for my child to touch the stove, am I to blame because they touch the stove? Yes, below a certain age, I would be to blame because that child doesn't have any sense. Right? They can't choose. But that's not the situation Adam and Eve were in. They're fully to blame. There are heaps of dangers on this property that I live on. That because I'm doing nothing about them, I'm making it possible for people to harm themselves. Am I therefore to blame for someone harming themselves because they're stupid or careless or unaware? No, I'm not to blame unless there's good reason to believe that someone could harm themselves. If there was a baby running around the property, but a baby shouldn't be running around the property unsupervised. He's conflating the idea of God making it possible with God being to blame. No, God's not to blame because God made it possible. Creation of the tree did not create evil. Now, but listen to his response. He's even more confused. Evil did not exist until Satan rebelled, and he didn't need a tree. Right? Creating the tree didn't create evil. Evil already exists in Satan's heart. And so then he asks me about Satan. And evil did not exist in humans until they chose to rebel. Right? Evil didn't exist outside of Satan and his angels until humans decided to eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Evil didn't actually exist in the tree. Actually, I get to a response to that shortly. God did not create evil. He can't. He's holy. He responds, thank you for responding. I really and once again, my comment has disappeared. I'm glad I did this stream. Thank you for responding. I really struggle with this issue because, one, stating that Satan has free will does not explain how he became evil. Yes, it does. By his choice. And then he says, where did he get that knowledge from? What knowledge are you talking about? Do you think that the knowledge of evil has to be created for people to become evil? See, this is the problem that Calvinists make. They think evil is a substance, something that needs to be created. No, evil is rebellion. Evil is walking away from good. All you need for evil to be created, in inverted commas, it's not a thing, so it doesn't need to be created. But all you need for evil to exist is a free will that can choose not to follow good. And that choice is evil. And that choice exists in the being that chooses it. Now, I never said that Satan has free will. I would not say it that way because I'm not sure what free will means in that context. What I would say is Satan was able to make a choice. Now, you can call it a free will choice if you want. Satan just had the ability to make a choice, but only one. Only once, as far as I can tell with the angels. Now, here's the problem. We aren't told a lot about the angels. All right? So I can't answer all of those questions. And then 2, he says, you say that God created evil, but that he created the knowledge of good and evil. I never said that. Where did I say God created the knowledge of good and evil? No, he created the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. I never said that he created the knowledge of good and evil. So then he says, so he simultaneously did and did not create it? What on earth are you talking about? No. How else could mankind understand evil if not because of God? Well, yes, he made it possible, but that's not a creation of evil. Making it possible doesn't create evil. That doesn't even make any sense. Three, you say he can't create evil, but you believe he created natural evil. I don't know what you're talking about. You seem to be trying to read my mind instead of ask me what I actually believe. Again, sorry if this frustrates you, but I really struggle with it. Well, what frustrates me is the words that you're putting in my mouth, the lies that you're telling, not that you are confused and asking questions. I'm actually enjoying that. And now we'll go to my answer, which YouTube refuses to allow me to show. I don't know why that thing's doing that. I hate that. So I think it's in my drafts. Yes. Oh, great. Okay, so I'll have to do it another way. Give me a second. Well, let's just do it on the stream by responding one final time. By the way, if you listen to this later on, SouthWestConvert, go to my About and look for my email address and email me, because I'd love to continue this conversation. But YouTube is making it impossible for me to continue it on YouTube in comments, and I really don't want to keep streaming. I want to talk to you. And when I stream to talk to you, I'm going to stream to you over on Rumble, which might be why YouTube doesn't like me, but who knows? So here was my response. Oh, great. So the text editing gets destroyed. Oh, I hate YouTube. I really hate YouTube. I hate YouTube so much. Absolutely imbecile platform. So here's my response. No problem, bro. I'm very happy to help as much as I can. I may not be able to give an answer that satisfies you, though. I think it's important to start knowing that God is true and every man, including our own minds, a liar. Secondly, God is holy, so cannot be the source of evil, author of evil. Third, he is not the author of confusion, so any confusion is our own ignorance and foolishness, and I'm not attacking you, that includes me. So I must believe that Satan was the inventor of his own evil and God created him with a choice. Ezekiel tells us that his beauty corrupted his wisdom. I'm not sure exactly what that means, but it sounds like he made a choice to value appearance over substance and has been doing so ever since. And so do those who follow him, including if they are indirectly or accidentally following him. Any rejection of God is a rejection of substance for appearance, shallowness over depth. But God did not plan to save the angels. so they are lost eternally. God did plan to save humans, knowing that if he gave them a choice, they would rebel. He could have chosen not to do that, but I believe he wanted to create creatures that can choose to love him and demonstrate his love by saving ungodly rebel sinners. So God could have prevented any other option, right? Which is what you seem to be suggesting, SouthWestConvert. But that's obviously not what he did. He decided to give us a choice. By the way, I just realized I forgot to put the StreamYard link. He could have chosen not to do that. I believe he wanted to create creatures that can choose to love him and demonstrate his love by saving ungodly rebel sinners. The greatest love possible. So he gave us a choice and put a tree in the garden to enable that choice. And by us, I mean Adam and Eve, humanity. In Adam and Eve were given a choice. Now to your questions. I believe I have answered one to the best of my ability. You are misunderstanding on two. Creating, I meant to say, creating the tree of the knowledge of good and evil is not creating evil. The tree was not evil. Eating of the tree was evil. Evil arose from Adam's disobedience, not the tree itself. That's why it's called the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, because it had that effect. Do you think the tree had the knowledge of good and evil? No, of course not. You misunderstand scripture and logic. 3. So now I'm answering his question about God can't create evil, but he creates natural evil. We would normally call natural evil. We would not normally call natural evil evil. We usually call them disasters or calamity or even judgment. And the Hebrew word we translate as evil can mean that. I'm not sure what you mean by creating natural evil. Disasters, calamity, and natural judgment came into this world because Adam sinned. In a sense, God is in control of that, but in my opinion, not in a deterministic way, but by allowing or withholding. Scripture regularly uses this language about God, not just about natural evil, but about sending lying spirits too. Calvinists interpret that as God determining it and being the author. No Christian prior to Augustine in 412 AD thought that way, and only the Stoics, Neoplatonics, I should have said, and Gnostics, including the Manichaeans, did. It's a pagan thinking for God to be the author of evil. Blasphemy. This is starting to get quite convoluted. If you would like to continue, please email me. My email is in my about. And in fact, I'll give my email now, servantofjesuschrist86@gmail.com. servantofjesuschrist86@gmail.com. If you want to email me, and you don't have to be SouthWestConvert to email me, I welcome emails from anyone who wants to discuss these topics. Thanks for listening. Those of you that listen to this, it's obvious that SouthWestConvert isn't going to contact me right now. So I'm going to end this stream and we'll see if he responds to it. See yous.